one, big one. Supposed to stick it in the ground.
It is in the ground.
Outside.
That was your idea.
Mariadoc Brandybuck and Peregrine Took. I might have known.
Frodo! Merry, it's Frodo Baggins.
Hello, Frodo.
You've been in the former maggot's crop.
Oi, we're coming too.
Anyway, you need people of intelligence on this sort of mission. Quest. Thing.
This is the biggest change that I noticed at first when I saw the films, is that Merry and Pippin are very different characters now. And let's not forget that in the books, one of the things we'll go over is everybody's a lot younger right now in the films. In the books, Frodo's almost 50, right? Or is he over 50?
No, he's 50.
He's 50.
He's exactly 50, 17 years after he turns 33.
33, that's right. So Merry and Pippin are his peers, are his, as we mentioned in the last episode, are his best friends and but they're not these kinds of pranksters that will, steal set off one of Gandalf's fireworks, or listen in on the Fellowship as it's being created, or steal the crops from Farmer Maggot. In fact, Merry is the respectable one who in the books takes care of Frodo's house at Crick Hollow. This guy right there, he's so goofy. And he organizes Frodo's move, and he's the one that figures out that like Frodo's been hiding the ring, right? There's a depth to Merry that is not this sort of surface level teenage prankster type of character that they have. And Pippin, he's the youngest of the hobbits, and so he's the guy who he in the book, maybe the best way to put it is he has a tendency to sometimes think first or speak first before he thinks. And so he'll say about like he's hungry without realizing like it's not appropriate to say he's hungry, or like I'm so tired right now, what are we doing? That sort of stuff. Whereas in the films, right, he's especially sort of this goofy, right? He's the guy who knocks the skeleton into the well in Moria. They're very, very different. Right? These characters are the first true characters in the films that are very different from who they are in the books. What was your first take on them when the first time you saw them in the films, Michael?
Okay, we will then disagree on Pippin. Pippin is not different, is my claim from the books. Not very different. He is somewhat different. So they emphasize his silliness, but Pippin is making jokes and is the butt of jokes in the books quite frequently. So he does indeed knock down, like the Fool of a Took line is from the books.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is like so we're invited to laugh at him, or at least roll our eyes at him there. I have a couple quotes from the books. In Crick Hollow, Pippin, and when they announced to Frodo that they're coming with him, and therefore we must too. Merry and I are coming with you. Sam is an excellent fellow and would jump down a dragon's throat to save you if he did not trip over his own feet. But you will need more than one companion in your dangerous adventure. So he's doing that hobbitish. He's making a joke at Sam's expense, but he's being a jokester in this regard. When he's riding to Minas Tirith on the back of Shadowfax with Gandalf. Mercy, cried Gandalf. If the giving of knowledge is be the cure of your inquisitiveness, I shall spend all the rest of my days in answering you. What more should you like to know? The names of all the stars and of all the living things and the whole history of Middle-earth and overheave and of the sundering seas. Laughed Pippin. Of course, what less? So what I'm pointing out is that Tolkien actually uses him as comedic, but not slapstick comedy, not the way it does in the film. So I agree with there. So this scene here.
Look at this. Yes. That's what I mean. This is not.
But when you look through the book, throughout the movie, they do emphasize Pippin's laugh at him and laugh with him more than they do in the books. But there were jokes that Pippin makes in the books and that where you're supposed to laugh at him that didn't make it to the movie. So all I'm pointing out is, in my opinion, this is a change to Merry's character more than it is to Pippin's. So with regard to Merry, this is a vast change. Merry is not like this at all in the books. With regard to Pippin, it's just an emphasis of what Tolkien also does in the books.
Here's the way that I would put it with how the movie portrays Pippin, and I'll leave it at this: is that he has a lower IQ than the other hobbits. He's not on the same, and that's not what comes across in the books. He might be he's kind of the funny guy who gets the butt end of the jokes, but he also like ribs them a little bit too. But he's not he's not the dumb guy. And in the movies, right, he's the one that gets hit in the head with an apple and kind of looks funny up, right? Even those little things, it makes a big change to how we perceive Pippin, or we perceive Pippin in the films. So
comedic slapstick is definitely that's the point. And I agree with you. Pippin is being portrayed, especially with the comment about, you know, people of intelligence, and then Mary says, well, that leaves out you, Pippin.
Exactly.
In the movies. Yeah. And so that's clearly there in the movies. So
is it lore friendly?
Well, I have a big problem with this, because with question 6, the problem I have with the lore question is it lore friendly? Yes for Pippin-ish. Yes-ish. No for Mary. So I still think it's keeping to Tolkien using Pippin as comedic. Tolkien does use Pippin as comedy intro and exit. He's just not the bumbling fool, despite Gandalf's calling him a fool of a took. He's not. He's sometimes foolish, but he's not the idiot that Peter Jackson makes him out to be. So
did you say yes or no?
I don't know. I'm deciding. You go first, because I have a yes for Pippin and a no for Mary. Yeah. So I don't know what I'm saying.
It's a no, man. I'm sorry. When you change the especially since we're joining Merry and Pippin together, I mean, I think it's a no. I mean,
I think you're right. I got to go with no, because ultimately it would have to, the way our question is phrased, it would have to be both of them being lore friendly. I do actually think it's lore friendly for Pippin. It's just not very. It's only barely, and it's a comedic emphasis rather than. So when you ask the question, is it lore friendly? You have to understand. Here's the way I'm taking it. Maybe you're taking it differently. When I see the question, is it lore friendly? I'm not saying the question in my mind is it lore accurate, lore specific?
It's not verbatim. Does it match with what the spirit
question
of what Tolkien wrote?
Is it in the spirit that Tolkien wrote these characters when it comes to character questions like this one? And I do think it is in Pippin's spirit. It's just taken to a degree which Tolkien would never have taken it to. Right. So.
And that spirit, the spirit of the lore is going to be different for each one of us. So I'm hoping that eventually these numbers will be different. I think they will be.
Okay. Oh, they'll be different, but so far not so much.
Okay, is the change necessary for cinema?
No, the change is not necessary for cinema.
Why? Do you think it would make the movie better? I mean, if you were to leave Mary as the mature one?
That's a different question.
Meaning, if you took out their prankster nature, would it make the film better?
Maybe we should actually change our question. This is we can throw this to our audience to say as well, to give us comment on this. Does the change make better cinema? Would be another way of asking the question. Because the word necessary means that we're going to get a lot of no's, which is fine.
All right, let's change it, Michael. Let's do it right now. How do we put that? Does the change
make for better cinema?
Does the change make the movie better?
Sure. You could just say make better cinema.
Man, I don't want to have to edit this. You think I'm cutting this out? I'm not. Does the change make better cinema? All right, so now that's the question.
Okay, well, that's Michael, a tougher one.
That's now. So we'll leave. We're not going to go back and change the other ones. But
no, I understand. Our count is low enough. We're only on question 6. Does the change make better cinema to change Mary's character? No, I still say no. I would like Mary as the more serious one. Remember in the Old Forest in the book, he takes the role of the guide. He's going to lead them through the Old Forest, and he doesn't do a good job, but he clearly tries to take the leadership role, and he's the older one. And I like him having a different character than Pippin. I think that keeps us from brushing all hobbits with the same wide brush. So anyway, I say no. Doesn't make better cinema.
I'm trying to think if I would have liked the film better if Mary would have been more serious or less, and if Pippin would have been less of a low IQ hobbit or more of a high IQ hobbit. Man, I don't want to be the same, but I'm gonna have to say
Forget
No.
the fact that we're doing the count, dude. Just answer. We just got to answer the
I
questions.
know, but I mean, I don't want to just knee jerk react and say no or yes or no. I want to actually think about it and talk it through, because when Michael and I do this, we're not talking beforehand what we think about all this. In fact, I don't want to think a ton about these items before we do it, even though I had a hand in setting all this up and everything. But thinking about it in depth each time makes me wonder, like, would I have liked movies better or not? Like, some people I'm sure would go to Faramir and say, hey, Faramir is better because he was conflicted now. Well, I disagree, but I'm sure there's some people who believe that. With this one, yeah, I think if they would have kept other characters more closer to the books, you could have kept Merry and Pippin more closer to who they were in the books too. Yeah, so that's
I see it, and to put it a different way, I think Merry could have been shown as an out-of-depth hobbit, like he was in the book, without being the same comedic style as Pippin.
That's a good way of putting it.
You could have shown him to be a hobbit growing and becoming the Meriadoc knight of Rohan that he becomes by the end of the books.
And in fact, you could have done that really early when in the books they all meet the elves, right? Gildor. And there is when they speak to them very reverently, and you could have made the point in the films, like, they're out of their depth here, right? These are people who they don't normally deal with, and they don't even know how to communicate with in a way, right? They don't know how to speak with them. And that would have been much better. But they had Frodo and Sam in the extended edition simply watch some elves walk away to the Grey Havens with their own hiking music going on. So
and
it was very ethereal hiking music. So I think that's where we are with, does the change make better cinema? So the last question then becomes, how much do you like the change? How much do you like the change? All right, I'll go first. 1.7. I'm really
wait. Now we're going into 10.
Oh man,
we're not even doing 1.5.
You opened the floodgates with the points. We don't have to. So why? This is like
how funny. How funny. So you really don't like the change there? Okay.
I really don't like. I just I'm when it comes down to it for these films, I'm totally okay being known as a purist who wants to see what Tolkien wrote, because I still think it's better than what was put on film. Ultimately, altogether, I'd like to see what Tolkien wrote on film.
I'm not that harsh about this one, and the reason is because with so many characters, they're trying to make us do a cinematic thing where the two of them are easily identifiable as the comedic character. So I get it, and so I dislike it, but not by much. So 2.6 is my rating. 2.6.
All right, you're still a little more than halfway. Yeah, I think, and we can talk about this in the extended podcast, which you can get by going to theonering.com/member, become a member for $4 a month and get our extended podcast and join us on Discord. But we'll talk about, like, I think there are ways you could have made the characters different without making them the pranksters. And I think that would have been more in keeping with what Tolkien intended for the hobbits to be, rather than these teenage, high school jokesters that are causing havoc.
Agreed.
Dancing on tables. All right, so
thus ends the sixth change. The end.